Hello and welcome to another fascinating episode of Furries in the Media. I'm your host Abergwine, and today I'm going to tackle one of the most anticipated, most requested shows I've come across in my review series, National Geographic's Taboo.
And in Canada, an underground group harbors an inner animal.
While I don't think that the definition of inner animal alone is enough to entail the entire scope of being a furry, I still think it's sufficient enough to serve its purpose of differentiating the furry from the rest of the people in the introductory lineup, which is probably what its intended purpose was anyways.
But there are some people who love animals so much, they feel the need to become one.
I feel like this statement is an oversimplification. While it is true that a lot of furries are animal lovers, that doesn't mean that they want to become an animal.
Courtney is a furry, one of a growing number of people who believe that they are part human, part animal.
Oh, I'm so sorry. The answer we were looking for here was people who are fans of cartoon animals. Better luck next time.
When I'm Courtney, I'm shy, I'm nervous. I don't like having a lot of attention on me. Courtney is the stressed out grad student trying to work on a PhD. I prefer being Nuka. He's mischievous and playful and silly, and when I'm in my persona, I don't mind people looking at me. I'm okay with being the center of attention. I don't feel so embarrassed to have everyone's eyes on me.
Yes, I agree with this. Taking on a new persona can offer a different social dynamic from how the individual normally interacts with the world, but I still think this is only one of many reasons why a furry would wear a fursuit.
Furries can be considered greatly taboo because we look at people dressing up in furry costumes as being child's play, and it's something that should have been left in the past and not brought into adulthood.
Well, even I have to admit that a lot of people do see being a furry as childish, but I personally feel that part of being mature is realizing that so long as it's within the appropriate context, it's okay to like or do things that are widely seen as childish. Don't let anyone put you down just because they label something you do or like as childish.
You think you're a furry, you feel like you're furry, you're a furry.
This is mostly true, but the deciding factor is the individual's choice of whether or not they want to be a furry. I think that's part of the beauty of the furry fandom, or any fandom really. The option to join is completely up to you, no matter your level of interest or investment.
Yeah, I get to have a lot more fun without people thinking I'm weird or strange, because I'm already weird and strange.
Yes, wearing a fursuit does offer the benefit of being anonymous, but like I said in my previous video, anonymity is not the sole reason for being a furry or having a fursuit. It's just a bonus.
Research suggests that up to 25% of furries believe they're not entirely human.
Yeah, 25% is pretty accurate for the percentage of furries who don't feel entirely human. Now, if you've seen this video on National Geographic's website or on their YouTube channel, you'll notice that it said 85% of furries felt this way. I will go into more detail about this difference at the end of the review.
A lot of these people feel that they have characteristics of animals, and they really should have been born as an animal or with these animalistic features.
I don't think that most furries feel that they should have been born as an animal or born with animal features. That's not to say that there aren't people in the fandom who feel this way, but I think they tend to be more the exception than the rule.
Many people would want to dress up as furries because there's an aspect of themselves that they don't feel that they can express as human beings. It's a way of escaping their identity in which they feel constricted in their daily life.
I definitely think what she's saying here is more accurate than the statement she previously made. Many furries will use their involvement in the fandom as a means of escapism, entertainment, or just as a means of distraction from the mundane, and being in the furry fandom allows for these new avenues of self-expression, whether it's through creating art, writing stories, or wearing fursuits.
Well, my research suggests that a lot of furries do tend to keep it to themselves, that they're afraid, I think, to come out because there is this worry that they're going to be perceived negatively by the world around them.
Yes, a lot of furries tend to be careful about who knows about their involvement in the furry fandom because of the negative stigma that is often associated with the furry fandom.
For Courtney, like many furries, his obsession began in childhood with a love for cartoons.
I suppose my love of cartoons was a little different from the kid next door. There was a sense of like wanting to be that character, almost like physical affection towards the character.
I feel like I had that same sort of experience as a kid, feeling like I was the cartoon character after I watched an animated film, and I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of other furries have had similar experiences as kids too.
Furries are ultimately people with an interest in anthropomorphic art, cartoon animals that look like humans or have human-like traits.
No idea why it took them so long to get to this line, but this is the definition of furries that we were looking for earlier.
Some of this art has a distinctly erotic flavor, which has led some to question whether there is a dark side to the world of furry fandom. But Courtney and his friends are emphatic that the furry fandom is not about sexual deviancy.
Sometimes adults don't quite get it. The biggest misconception that people have about furries is that we're all deviants. We're sexual deviants and perverts, and we're doing this only for sexual gratification. Like there's some weird underlying tone to it, where it's really just primarily about fun.
Well, I think they could stand to tone back the ominous music and seizure-inducing editing. But I do agree with everything that she has to say. Not every furry is a sexual deviant, and the fandom is primarily about fun.
Courtney concedes that furries aren't exactly a mainstream lifestyle choice.
I mean, I won't try to defend the fact that it's a strange hobby, but it's no more strange, I think, than some of the other hobbies people have.
Like I've said before, most furries are self-aware enough to understand that our fandom is weird. Let's take a look at those review stats. Information accuracy is 80%, and the spirit of the clip is 60%, averaging out to 70%. And now time for my thoughts. The video that I reviewed today said 25% of furries don't feel entirely human, but the teaser segment on National Geographic's YouTube channel and official website says 85%. When I first wrote my review, I had no idea why they would have two different versions of the same clip, with the only difference being that single statistic. Now, this is what I learned while working on this review. NUCA is a part of the International Anthropomorphic Research Project, which is currently the most serious scientific data collection project focused on gathering information about the furry fandom. So I thought it was a little weird that since National Geographic was working with someone from the IARP, that the 85% stat was even included, since the IARP's findings on this data point were significantly closer to 25%. According to NUCA's account of the events, the show was indeed supposed to consult him for statistics that had been gathered from the IARP. He said he had no idea where the show got 85% from, and he requested that they change it to more accurately reflect the IARP's findings, which they did before the episode aired. The biggest gripe I have against this episode of Taboo is that they kept pushing the idea that most, if not all, furries are people who believe that they are part animal. True, they did technically say in the final episode that only 25% of furries believe that they were not fully human, but had it not been for NUCA asking them to change that stat in the first place, I think the episode would have aired saying that 85% of furries felt that way. So why am I even going on about this if it's something that was corrected in the final episode? All's well that ends well, right? No, not really. They didn't change the stat in the teaser videos on YouTube and on their official website to 25%, and I think people are more likely to see those teaser videos than to wait around and watch the entire episode. NUCA mentioned that the production crew seemed to have the expectation that they were going to get more sensational content with the furries than they ended up actually getting. He also mentioned that the final episode used only one of the statistics he provided for them. Knowing this information, I wouldn't be surprised if, in an attempt to make the segment sound more interesting, the show's writer slightly altered the narrative by changing the definition of furries to people who believe that they are part animal, and fudge that single statistic to better support that idea. Now, if my hunch is anywhere near being correct, I can understand why they might have done this. They were expecting furries to be the sensational segment they needed to finish the episode off with a bang, and when it turned out that that wasn't the case, they improvised with what they had. I don't think this is the worst case of twisting words that I've heard of, but I honestly expected better from National Geographic. Well, that's it for today's episode. Have fun, stay awesome. Bye-bye!